In the previous video, we took a look at how you could create hair or fur using Maya's paint effects. And this was a pretty quick and easy solution to creating this effect like what we have on this insect here. In this video, I just want to briefly talk about a couple other solutions. Because there are a number of different ways that we could tackle this problem of adding something like fur or hair to a model. I'm going to hide my paint effects hair here, which has actually been converted to a polygon mesh. And I'm going to show you another technique. So I created this fur here using a different technique. Now, right now, it's not casting shadows appropriately in the viewport here, so it looks a little bit strange. But if we turn off the shadows there, you'll get a better idea of what it'll look like. And in fact, if I render it out, you also see that we won't be getting those weird artifacts with the shadows with this fur or hair that I've created here. Remember that this is just a working view, so what we see in here is just as good a representation as Maya can do in a manner that is quick and responsive, that is working in real time rather than what we might be able to accomplish with our renders. So how did I achieve this effect? This is also a very efficient, quick, and easy way of accomplishing something like hair. I'm going to press 5 to turn off the textures on here, and you'll see exactly what's happening. So what I've done here is I've just created some geometry. In this case, they're just simple cylinders, and I've gotten rid of the caps on them. But we could in fact do the same thing with polygon planes. And I've applied a texture, or textures rather, to a material that I've applied to this geometry. So it's a targa. In this case, it's a targa with a color channel and a transparency channel. And when we look at it with textures on it, then we see it as if, well, we see it with its transparency, so then it looks pretty good. So let's take a look at what's actually happening. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a polygon plane. And I'm going to apply that same texture to it, the one that I'm using for this effect. I'll go ahead and bring down the divisions on this because we don't really need it for this particular example. Although maybe we'll go ahead and keep some of the divisions there. Okay, so I'll go to my hypershade and find my material. Okay, let's try that one more time. I'll go to my hypershade. Here is the material here that I've created. I'm going to just drag it and apply it to this plane here. And you'll see what's happening here. It really is quite simple. It's just a color and a transparency channel. In fact, if we were to go into our hypershade, take a look at the materials network, you will see that the targa that I have created here is feeding into both the color channel and the transparency channel. We could also take a look at this texture in Photoshop. Here is the actual texture itself with the color channel. If we go to the channels here in Photoshop, we can take a look at the alpha. This is what the alpha channel looks like for this targa. In other words, the black areas are transparent, the white areas are opaque. So that's just a little bit about how this texture is working. In this case, it's a targa, so it has both the color and the transparency in the single image, but sometimes you might actually have two separate images. One, which would be this color channel, and then the other would be a separate image that would look identical to this that could be applied as your transparency. Now in the case of this example here, because it is on a polygon plane, you can see that you do lose the illusion in certain angles here with this. However, what we could do is come in here and break up the geometry a little bit. This will give it more of a three-dimensional feel to it. So it doesn't appear like a flat plane. We could do other things to it as well that would also make it look a little bit more convincing. I'm going to put a bend deformer on it. Anyway, you can see how with very simple geometry we could actually get a pretty good effect of something like hair, which is exactly what I'm doing with this example here of hair on this insect. Let's take a look at some more advanced uses of this technique, because it is in fact used quite often for things such as hair. And to show you how these techniques can really be pushed to create things like hair, let's go into another software package. We'll go into iClone, only because it's quick and easy to look at a character there that's already been created, but otherwise what we'll be looking at is similar to what we could actually create in Maya. So here we have this character, and it's very interesting because if we play this, you'll see that the hair behaves appropriately. It looks like it's actually that we've got some follow-through overlapping action on the hair as the character walks. And if we zoom in on the hair, you can see that it actually looks pretty good. It looks like there's lots of individual strands of hair. Which would be a lot to actually be calculating in a 3D environment. Now let's take a look at what's actually happening with this hair. And to do so, I'm going to select in my scene here the character's hair, and we'll take a look at the materials. And this is the actual color map for the hair. But similar to what we were looking at with the insect, you'll notice that there is also an opacity map. Again, just like the example that we looked at with the insect, the areas that are white are opaque, the black areas are transparent. And in fact, we also have a couple other maps. We have a bump map on here and a specular map as well. Let's take a look at what happens if we get rid of that opacity map so that we can see what is actually happening with this hair. I'm going to select the opacity map, and I'm just going to get rid of it. And here you can see that the hair looks a lot less convincing because it no longer is using transparency on it. Now if we get rid of that color map on it as well, we'll be able to take a look at the geometry a little bit better on this. So I'm going to do that. I'll select the color map, get rid of that. And perhaps while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and get rid of the other maps as well, the bump map and the specular map. So here is what the actual hair looks like. And what you'll notice is that it's actually just geometry, very similar to what I had done with the insect. In fact, you get a good sense of what this geometry actually looks like as we rotate around this hair model. So that is one way that you could accomplish hair on a character, for example, In Maya as well, you would simply model hair like this and then create textures for both color and transparency. So let's go ahead and return to Maya. Again, this is a very efficient and easy solution. In this case, it also, I think, can work quite well for creating something like hair, in this case on an insect. So that's a pretty quick and easy way of creating hair or fur in 3D, in this case in Maya. In a future video, we may take a look at N-hair, which is another solution that we can use to create hair or fur, with the added advantage that it will actually behave and react like hair, being affected by gravity, collision, etc. So thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.